Hi everyone. Pre-recording Micah here. I just wanted to take a moment to address a bit of things with the scheduling of the podcast, and why it has not been consistent. Uh, as many of you are also probably feeling, life right now is not constant, I guess. Things are a little hectic, and my scheduling got a little bit away from me. Hopefully, in the next couple of months, we can get that sorted out. Uh, as for the time being, probably still expect some more sporadic posting. I think my goal, my realistic minimum goal, is one a month rather than bi-weekly. Um, but no, I'm gonna work on that. So I just wanted to let you guys know why things weren't going smooth. All right. So yeah, thanks. Enjoy the episode.
Mother, I require sustenance. Mother, feed me.
Pretend to like shoot each other and stab each other and like all these things. They absolutely loved it.
Welcome to Concert Season, the podcast that takes you behind the music into the minds and hearts of Maine's musicians, conductors, and educators shaping our state's choral landscape. Today, I'm joined by two remarkable educators in Maine's music education community, Vicky Williams and Maylinda Boynton. Together, they're shaping the musical lives of students across rural Maine and building choral communities. In this conversation, we'll explore what it really means to teach music and how they've adapted, collaborated, and continued to create vibrant programs that nurture creativity. We'll talk about the joys, the challenges, and the impact that great teaching can have far beyond the classroom walls. Let's get into it. Hi, guys.
Hi,
Hi.
Micah.
Welcome to concert season. It's so great that we finally got this scheduling to work out.
So excited to be here.
Me too.
How have you how wow have you how how have you guys been adapting to this new school semester so far?
It's been an interesting one. Let's put it that way.
For sure. Very interesting, very draining.
Hmm.
Amen.
So yeah, just Vicky, you're going into your second year of music education, right?
Yes, this is my second
Okay.
year.
And Maylinda, what year are you at?
I'm on year 5.
You're five. Okay. So still both pretty new to the scene, but you have your you have some experience behind you. So like what first inspired you to become music educators?
For
Go ahead.
me, oh yeah. For me, it was knowing that I wanted to work with children. I almost went to study psychology, but then my last all state of my high school experience, I was like, I cannot imagine living my life without music in it like all the time. So I ended up switching. So it's like I knew I wanted to work with kids, and then I was like, I need music to be part of like my life. So I switched to music ed.
Very cool. For me, it was my middle school band director. He was the first music teacher I ever had that really inspired me to realize that music was a potential career that I could have and taught me that, there are no barriers to what I could accomplish as a musician in my life and that I could really that was the first chance I saw of seeing myself potentially as a music educator. My parents were very unsupportive of that because they were like, "You're gonna be poor and you're not gonna have a life and you're not gonna be able to do things." And so it took a lot of convincing and, a secondary college degree that I don't use, but at least I know now that I'm doing what I, always wanted to do.
I think for me, when I decided that I was going to do music education, it was based off of my high school music teacher as well as my children's choir director. Um, And yeah, it was just that feeling is like, I want to do this. And then I realized, see, unlike you, I got off that train because I realized that train wasn't going to go to the station I wanted to go to. But yeah, looking back, were there like particular mentors or experiences, like more specific, that shaped like how you teach today?
I did my student teaching experience in the Old Town school districts. So it was nice because I was living on campus. So it was close enough that it was only like a 5 to 10 minute drive every day. But working with Amanda Marquis and Cheyenne Priest in the Old Town elementary and middle schools, I learned so much more about and learned that music isn't only about music education, it's about educating the whole child. And it's about understanding and learning and recognizing the outside factors that are affecting kids. And for a lot of children, that's the reason that they participate in music because their outside lives, not in your classroom, are really terrible. And they have horrible things going on at home or, in their communities. And the only like solace and the only safe place that they have is within your music room. And so that's the reason why I decided to go back to graduate school and get a degree in childhood trauma because I saw the amount of traumatized kids coming through that door every single day that were using music as a way to express themselves. And I knew that I felt musically ready to be in the classroom, but emotionally and just physically, because I'm an empath, I knew that I couldn't handle it yet. And I needed more experience on the back side of things, learning how to deal with kids that are going through these traumatic events. So I spent 2 more years outside of the classroom mentally preparing myself. And I'm so glad that I did that because I feel like I am in a better place as an educator now, having taken that time away from the classroom.
I actually also student taught with Cheyenne and Amanda, and that was a really good experience as well. I also, during college, I worked as a behavioral health professional. So I would go into homes and work with children with uh, autism, ADHD, different developmental disabilities, and I would work in the home on helping the children with their behavior. So that definitely, like, getting the chance to like go into the homes of kids and seeing like the situations they're living in, like the stuff they're experiencing at home, definitely influenced a lot of like my perspective on how I teach and like again realizing, especially with the community that I serve, which is very impoverished, realizing that teaching music is secondary to teaching life skills because a lot of these kids aren't getting that at home. So
Absolutely.
When you started teaching in like rural Maine in a very like lower income kind of setting, um, what was like the most surprising thing that you weren't really expecting about that kind of position in like if that like especially in a school that like might not have as much funding as somewhere more urban?
I think what surprised me the most going into it was just how much administration, the students, the community, they did not care what I do so long as I do something musical with the kids. The school that I came into has not had a before I came in, had not had a chorus program since like 2018. And I came in 2024. So that's like 5 or 6 years, no chorus program at all. And they were just like, they wanted anything. And so that was a bit of a blessing because like I had free reign to like teach my class how I want. But at the same time, it's a bit of a curse because there was like no guidance. There was like no oversight. I was making everything up as I went. And I'd say that's what shocked me the most going into that situation.
It's like you're not
Yeah,
stepping into someone's shoes, you're making the shoes.
Exactly.
I think I'd have to agree. I mean, the program that I took over obviously I started coming out of the pandemic, which was extremely challenging because that's not something they teach you in college. How to teach children how to play an instrument or sing with masks on and spread apart in your room, or having to play outside under a tent, or whatever the considerations might be, and being in a rural town where they didn't believe in those things and didn't want to utilize those kind of necessary health concerning tools, I guess you could say. But really, I agree with Vicky. My program, way back, a lot of huge directors came through my school and through my program. Jeff Priest taught in Lincoln for a long time. Trevor Marco was a huge pillar in the community for over a decade. So my goal coming into it was just to keep the program afloat. And now that I've been there for going on 5 years, my goal is to eventually grow the program back to what I know that it could be. Um, but keeping in mind the lack of support and funding that I have and the lack of children that I have in my program, trying to keep the program afloat and progressing in a forward motion.
So yeah, you guys both student taught at Old Town. Would do you like what are the differences between teaching in a setting like that where it was very established, very efficiently run, um, versus going
Established.
into versus going into that more rural program where it's not as big of a focus in the student body?
It was definitely a change of mindset. Um, there was so much support when I was part of the Old Town program, and I'm still a part of the Old Town program, and I volunteer there every summer because it's really important to me, still living in the Old Town community to keep it afloat. But it was a change of mindset of, you know, how do I adjust from having 60 kids in my chorus to having 10 kids in my chorus? And some of them don't know how to sing, or some of them didn't realize that they wanted to sing until they got to high school. Or, I don't run the middle school choral program. I have a counterpart that does that. So taking children because I work in the band scene and the choral scene, and band I do from 7th to 12th grade. So I have the kids for 6 years and I make these really, really strong, powerful connections with my kids. But for choral, I don't have them until ninth grade. So they've had 4 years of experience with another person. So stepping into my classroom and how I run things is a big adjustment for my kids. And I think some of them really struggle with that. But really just showing them support. And, I try to make my classroom as welcoming of an environment as I can because I want the kids to feel like they have a home there. And I think the biggest part of that is just knowing that, if they're having a bad day or they just need a trusted adult that they can talk to outside of their own home, that my office and my space is always available to them, no matter what they need to talk about.
I'll say I have met your counterpart at the middle school, and she's really great, and it's really nice that you have that to still build off of.
Yeah, I am very lucky that way for sure.
Yeah, I'm in a situation where I teach general music kindergarten to third grade, and then I teach chorus 5th grade through 12th grade. So I'm K through 12, um, which is kind of nice because then I can get the kids like I can very purposefully build the foundation for what skills I know they're going to need for either band or chorus. And then my counterpart just teaches band and middle school general music. Um, it's definitely very different than Old Town in the sense of definitely the level where kids are. Um, I feel as though the amount of community support is very different in terms of like financial support. Granted, any financial support, especially this year, is very difficult because we had attempted to pass a budget that was already like cutting things really close. The town voted it down, and then our second budget only passed by one vote. Um, yeah, and it's like really bad. A lot of money was cut. Um, to make that work. So I think just thinking about like how it's different from Old Town is a lot of like the community support. And like I remember when they moved band period to before school for the Leonard Middle School, like the entire town had Cheyenne's back. And I don't really have that because I'm not as established there, but definitely a very different dynamic, I think.
I mean, still like on that same theme, I guess we'll ask Maylinda because you kind of just already answered with that. But like, what kind of challenges do rural schools seem to be facing when it comes to sustaining strong music programs, like the budgets or changing the scheduling to before and after school, where like some students wouldn't have access to that, stuff like that. Like, what do
Yeah,
you see any of
I
that in
definitely
your
I
area?
do. Yeah, definitely agree, especially regarding budget. Like I run, like I said, all of the ensembles at the high school, and my budget was cut for sheet music by $1,000 to $500 for my entire program to get music for three different types of ensembles. And unfortunately, sheet music is not as cheap as it used to be. And unfortunately, there aren't as many free resources to get sheet music as there have been previously. So that was a really big adjustment for me. And the thing that kind of bothers me about rural schools is they're really good at hiding the numbers or making you think you have more than you do. And then when you go to place an order, they tell you, oh, by the way, that line of your budget was cut by $1,000. You need to cut this order from JW Pepper by $1,000 to make this work for what you were budgeted for the entire school year for all of your program. So that's a challenge. But I am really blessed in my community. There was a local uh, pharmacy owned by a family in the town of Lincoln that when they sold the company because the parents passed away, they decided to donate all of the money that was made from the sale to a grant program for the town of Lincoln. So there's a grant program called the Bailey Foundation that I can apply for every single year for whatever materials, instruments, pianos, like whatever, or like trips that I want to take with the kids. Whatever I need for my program, I can apply for funding. It doesn't necessarily mean that I'll be granted it, but literally the only stipulation is that it benefits the youth of the town of Lincoln.
Hmm.
So everything I do benefits the youth of the town of Lincoln. So I can apply for literally anything that I need. And even if I don't receive the full amount and I receive a partial grant, it still helps me to continue the work that I'm doing, just maybe not as on a big scale as I could be. But I am blessed in that regard that, there are always, and my curriculum coordinator is probably the most supportive person in my district and knows how hard I work to make things happen for the kids. So anytime something comes up financially, like quickly or whatever, I can email her and correspond with her about whatever it is. And we always find secret money or, like extra funding from the state or whatever that we can make work, that we can change like tweak the wording of something to make it fit whatever funding line that is. And miraculously, I'll have a new piano in my room, 6 weeks later
Hmm.
after like the shipping or whatever. So I am lucky that yes, there are challenges, but I also have some benefits that um, are specific kind of to my community that make it worthwhile, that make things a little bit easier financially on my program.
Now, are both of your guys' schools in Penobscot County, or are they in different counties? I'm pretty sure Lincoln's in
I'm in
Penobscot.
Penobscot County.
I think I might be Piscataquis.
I think you're right.
I don't know right now.
Mm. Well, I know because I was looking into grants, and specifically for Maylinda, but I also assume there is one for Piscataquis. Um, the Penobscot Community Foundation has a whole list of grants, especially for like artsy stuff that you could apply for. It's just like the deadlines on those are a little bit tight, but um,
Yeah.
there's definitely
There's
money places.
also there's the University of Maine is doing a Rural Thrive program. I'm doing the mentorship part of it, but there's also a way where you can apply to get grant money to buy supplies for your classroom. So,
Applies and or professional development. But my school
yeah,
did not do that, so they wouldn't let me apply.
Mm.
Oh, that sucks. Well, despite those challenges, like what unique strengths and opportunities do you see in rural music education, just as it's growing, if it's
I think a
growing?
big part of it is just collaboration. You know, being part of District 5 is a really good opportunity for our kids because, you know, District 4 or 6, I can't remember which one, like, doesn't have a district festival, so they're actually sending their kids to our festival this year, which is really cool because it gives us more opportunities to collaborate with more schools. Um, and just like knowing that you have other educators in your area that are going through the same struggles and are, you know, resource and being resources for each other is like another big piece of it. The mentorship program through the MMEA and through their starting one through District 5 in particular as well is also really beneficial because it gives newer educators access to people with more experience who can assist them with applying for grants or with, you know, budgetary issues or scheduling issues or whatever it might be. Just having like a sounding board of someone that you can talk to that understands what you're going through and can give you support and like guidance, I guess.
Yeah, I'm the secretary for District 5 this year, and I already just within that role, it's really nice to like have those professional connections and like get to know more teachers. It's a really, really good resource. Being part of like MMEA and District 5. And I also think that a strength of a rural school is a lot from these kids. A lot of them come from really rough situations. And when you can be that person for them, when you can be that safe person, that safe room for them, and music becomes a safe space for them, it can create this really, really powerful connection that will stay with them for the rest of their life. Whereas, like, in other situations where students might be a bit well off, obviously you can still have that connection, but it's not going to be as profound, I think. And and I think also in my situation where I do K through 12, which I can only do because it's a rural school, um, I can create these like really cool connections with these students over the years and like watch them grow and develop into people and watch them develop that connection to music. And I think that's a really powerful thing as well. And I whenever I say like I teach K through 12 music, like I always have at least one person that's like, are you okay? Or why are you doing that? But I enjoy it immensely. I like being able to teach high school chorus 1 minute and then kindergarten general music the next minute. I really like seeing all the phases of that of a child's development. So
Do you think that working in such like smaller schools, do you think that like impacts the relationships and the strength of the relationships that you can form with the students versus if you were somewhere like, SoPo or somewhere big? Like, do you think that
100%. 100%. I have the best relationships with my kids and even with their families. Like so many of my kids' parents like last night was our homecoming dance and parents were like texting me pictures of their kids like look how cute they look and I'm so happy and they're so excited and like the relationships that I get to build with kids and like the special like moments and bonding that we get to do inside and outside of school on trips and going to festivals and jamming out in the car like when we're traveling to and from like District 5 and all those different events and things that we get to do together just make these really special moments and like my kids are even close with my parents because my parents come to every single one of my football games, every single one of my concerts, every single one of my musicals. They volunteer in my concession stand. Like they do a lot for my kids. So every time my parents show up, the kids are always like, "Mom and Pop B are here," and they get all excited and they like go hug them and welcome them in and they're like, "We're so happy to see you. We've missed you so much." And like it's so special to me that like my kids feel like they're truly part of my family and my family actually treats my students like they're part of our family. It's really, like, honestly really special.
No, definitely. Definitely has an impact. That makes me so happy to hear about uh, your parents and your students. That brings me such joy. I um I definitely think, especially the school that I teach in has such a high turnover rate because nobody really wants to work there. Nobody really lives out there. So there's such a high turnover rate to the point where when you can be like that consistent adult in that child's life, they like really bond with you. Like I remember like last year was my first year, but I had a group of middle school girls that every single lunch period, they would come to my door, knock on it because they knew I kept Cheez-Its in my desk and would go, Mother, I require sustenance. Mother, feed me. And it was the best part of my day every day. So just like I feel like I don't know. I don't know. That was a tangent, but yeah.
What role do you think that music programs play or should play in building a sense of identity and pride within, your small communities?
I
I
think it's
think oh,
no, go ahead.
um I think definitely like giving students, it's always a good thing when you can give students something to be proud of. Like whether that's sports for that student, whether that's theater, whether that's band, whether that's chorus or anything else. So I think any more opportunities that you can give a child to have something that they're proud of, the better. And so I think music is a really important aspect of that. But also, like, say a kid's not really into music, fine. They into sports or into something else. I think giving a child as many opportunities as possible to make something they're proud of is what's important.
Yeah, I totally agree. In a community where there are less opportunities for kids in general, I think giving them and giving them opportunities, taking them places and doing things with them and showing them this is what you have the potential to do, or this is what you have the potential to become or be, or and like taking them to concerts, taking them to performances, having them be a part of community performances, things like Scorefest and District 5 festivals and all state auditions, things like that for rural kids are so important because it shows them that they, one, can accomplish something musically, and two, that they can be part of something bigger than just themselves or just our 10-person choir. Like when they sing in a group of 150 to 200 people, I can't replicate that in my classroom with 10 kids. But when I can give them that opportunity, and if it's free, especially, and all we have to do is pay for transportation, it's a no brainer for me. Every time those opportunities come up for my kids, because I want them to have those experiences because those are the memories that they're going to carry with them for the rest of their life. And music is a lifelong skill. Playing an instrument or singing is something you can do for your entire life. So showing them that, adults can do this successfully other than me in my role as their teacher, like you can be a doctor and still be a professional musician, or you can be whatever you want in your life and still keep music at the forefront of your life for your entire life. And that's something that kids are so in the moment in their thought process, and they don't know how to think forward about their future a lot of the time. And especially in rural communities where they're seeing a lot of their friends not going to college and just joining the workforce, they think that that is their only option. And they don't realize that there are so many opportunities if they can get out of where they are and really put themselves out there to try new things.
Yeah, no, when I was in high school, many years ago, it was before score was a thing that existed. Like when I was in school, I only had District 5 and All State, um, and a couple of other things like the World Strides Heritage Festival and all that, but that we never really sang in large groups for that. So yeah, definitely those experiences where you get to go and sing with hundreds of other people, it's really cool. So it's like I definitely think that there should be more of those. Um, I walked myself into a wall with that one. But um, how do you encourage the students that you have um, who wind up in your programs, like who might not see themselves as being quote unquote musical, and like how do you try and get them to feel as if they should be there?
A big thing for me is I make a huge point of telling kids that they do not need to be exactly like me, because a lot of the kids that I teach feel like their biggest fear is they're going to be made to sing by themselves, or they are scared that I'm going to make them perform or make them do something. And the more that I can empower them to be like, hey, this might not be your thing, but if you could try this, that would be awesome. I will never make a child sing by themselves. I will never make them audition for something. But the more that I encourage them, and as silly as it sounds, the more that I make really loud, really obvious mistakes in front of the kids, to the point where they can, in a respectful way, like we just kind of laugh it off and move on so that they feel more comfortable. Like I have a big sign in my classroom that says to be cringe is to be free. And every time the students walk in, I say, I want you to embarrass yourself. I want you to mess up so loudly and so confidently. And always remember, no matter how much you're scared you're going to embarrass yourself, I will always embarrass myself more. You cannot out cringe me. You cannot beat me. I will always win. And they love that. And it really brings them out of their shell to like participate more.
Yeah, I 100% agree. Like, I make mistakes all the time, and the kids will blatantly call me out in class. They'd be like, "You played that wrong, or you sang that wrong, or you used the wrong lyrics, or you took the wrong ending, or whatever." And like sometimes I do it on accident, I make like, and showing them that professional musicians and real people make mistakes. We're not perfect. Like, we don't always know what we're doing, and just always being willing, like Vicky said, to laugh it off with them and just move on and, laugh about it later or whatever, whatever the case might be. But just being open with them that we all do things that we're not proud of, and we all make mistakes, and we all have voice cracks, and we all go through these changes in our daily life, and just being aware of those and just like rolling with the punches is really the best advice.
I was just thinking, like, I could. It reminded me of that TikTok of that one choral teacher with the Nerf gun, and they were all singing on "Bum," and she just locks it and shoots at one of the kids. I'm like, I feel like that's the kind of choral teacher that you want. That's the fun one.
That's what we try to be.
So like, what do you do to keep students engaged over like for the long term? So like, so they don't get that choir burnout that we all know and hate.
It's hard. It's really hard. Like I said earlier, giving them opportunities. I take my kids to score every year she's had it, and they come back every single year feeling more confident in their abilities and, more confident as performers. It's truly amazing. Like when we come back from score, like till the end of the year, they are so motivated. And it's just awesome. And like taking them to District 5, taking as many of them as I can to those type of festivals and opportunities, and just getting kids out of my classroom to perform is huge. I've taken my kids, we've sung at a Maine basketball game before we've sung the national anthem. They loved that experience too, because they felt like they were the center of attention for, hundreds of people, and it was so special for them, and the team was so proud of them. And one of our former students was a manager on the basketball team, so like she got recognized along with us, and like it was extra special for my kids. And I take my kids to New York every 4 years. I've done it once. I'll be doing it again next April vacation. That's a big motivator for my kids, as much as I don't really like the negativity of that, because like I have a lot of kids join my program for that reason. So I put a stipulation in our code of conduct for like the class list that goes out of all the options for kids, that they had to be enrolled 2 years prior. So they had to be enrolled from this fall all the way through the trip, which is not this April vacation, but a year and a half from now, because that's the only way I can motivate the kids to really invest in the program for the long haul, and because taking kids to New York for 5 days is not cheap. It's $1,500 per kid. So, and some families have 2 kids in my program or 3 kids in my program. That's a lot of money in a poor district. So, I keep them involved and invested in the program for that entire time because they make payments for a full year in advance. So they start payments in just a couple of months. So keeping them invested in the program, and sometimes they think that they're joining just for the trip, but then they stick it out for the long haul because they enjoy it so much. And that's what is really cool, but at the same time it's kind of like stabbing myself in the foot because my numbers are climbing towards a trip year, and then as soon as that trip year is over, it drops because they all don't want to continue anymore. But I took 50 kids to New York City for 5 days. We had a great experience. We got to sing on a aircraft hangar on the USS Constitution or some ship in New York City, and they got to sing for the people that were there, and it was really cool. And then we got to sing inside one of the cathedrals in New York City. Like, it was a super special experience for my kids, but at the same time, that can only do so much for the program in terms of building when they have the opportunity to not continue after that. So it's a double-sided coin. There are pluses and minuses, but for the most part, just giving my kids opportunities and traveling with them is really, important to me because I didn't have a lot of opportunities as a kid musically. So I'm always trying to give my kids more opportunities than I had because I think that's what's most important.
Yeah, I think that for me, again, going into my second year, what I work on most to like keep kids engaged and avoid burnout is I try to keep things light. I try to keep things fun. I try to talk to my students like people and like create relationships with them in a way to where my chorus classroom is a space where they don't feel stressed. And also something I've been working on is like dealing with one problem at a time. So like if we're singing this passage of music and they're really pitchy, I will spend time just working on matching pitch. And then once they're able to sing it through in match pitch, I move on. Next time we sing that song, we revisit it. And then once they've got that down, then I add another level to it, like not trying to like overwhelm them with information. Because I feel like the moment that they feel it's something, I have a lot of kids that just like give up so easily. And like the moment they're like, I can't do this. So like really carefully making sure that I'm only addressing one issue at a time, and then giving a lot of encouragement, a lot of positive feedback, and like making sure that they don't feel overwhelmed, because the moment they feel overwhelmed, chorus is no longer fun and they don't want to be there. So
Um, I don't know if you've okay. How do you support students who want to pursue music more seriously after high school? And what's some advice that you would give to those students?
um I make a big point. Like at the beginning of this school year, I give kids contracts for chorus. And then on there, it's like, check this box if you want to hear more about music scholarships, opportunities, or things like that. And then for when I have kids that are seniors, this year I don't have any seniors, but when I do, I like go out of my way to like give them resources. I tell them that I'm somebody they can come to and ask for help when it comes to stuff like that. Um, and just like, again, like really like non judgmentally aiding them. Like seniors in high school, they don't know what they're doing. And just like really being able to like give them options without assumptions, because they don't know what they're doing. I don't know what they're doing, but I can help them once they make a decision.
Very true. I currently have a student in the music education program at the University of Maine and in the music program for composition at USM, that are former students of mine. And my biggest thing is, I try to reach out to both of them and check in and say, do you need anything? Can I help you with anything? Like, how can I still support you even though you're no longer in my program, but you're continuing with your music education outside of the program and in someone else's hands, but what can I still do to support you? And then like Vicky said, making kids aware of the opportunities that they have post graduation and talking to them about their college plans or about their future plans and what they could do to keep music a part of their lives. My biggest thing is I always have an open door policy for my students and for my former students. So every time we have a concert and every time we have a performance or a pep band game or whatever it is, I let alumni come back and be a part of that because it keeps them invested in the program, even though they've already graduated from my program. And, if that encourages like their younger siblings or their nieces and nephews or their cousins or whatever to be part of the program, then, that's only going to benefit me in the long run.
Yeah, just looking back, like what are some of the most rewarding success stories that you've seen from your students?
Honestly, I think the New York trip that I talked about earlier, taking them and seeing it through their eyes. A lot of them had never even left the state of Maine before. Like, I'll never forget driving across the bridge to New Hampshire. I could hear children crying on the bus because they had never left Maine before and they were terrified. But to see like their reactions when we went and saw Aladdin on Broadway, and I could just like look down the row and just see even my band kids that had absolutely said they had no interest in seeing a Broadway show, their eyes light up and the smiles and the laughs and the memories that we created and the photos that I have to look back on it. Like it's just so special to me. I made a huge collage. I took a selfie with every one of my kids and every one of my chaperones and I made a big collage that's hanging in my office. And the kids that are still in my program that went on the trip love to come in and like point themselves out on the wall and say like this was the best trip I've ever been on. And like we took a stage combat class, which for my chorus kids, they were obviously really intrigued and interested in that. But for my band kids, they didn't think that they would be. But we learned the opening scene from West Side Story until the cops show up. And like the fact that they got to like bang, 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 and like pretend to like shoot each other and stab each other and like all these things, like they absolutely loved it. And like seeing it through their eyes and experiencing like I've been in New York a million times, but seeing it through a 17-year-old's eyes for the very first time was something that I absolutely will never forget.
Um, yeah, so I'm in my second year of teaching right now, so I haven't had any like huge prolonged success stories, but I would say definitely just getting my high school choir last year. I had 11 kids in there who at the beginning of the year could not sing in unison in tune. And by the end of the year, we were singing 3-part harmony. We were sight reading. They knew how to read sheet music. They were pointing out things that I didn't notice in the sheet music. And I think that was so rewarding for me, just like seeing them develop and like take on this new information. Um, and then last year, my group of 12 high school students, 6 or 7 of them were seniors. So that broke my heart when they graduated. But I've got a few kids in chorus this year that are holdovers from last year. And then now we're able to start the year on 3-part harmony and possibly grow into something even more complex. And just like that progressive growth and seeing them actually like listen to me and grow and develop and learn things and get excited about it and passionate about it is a huge success story for me.
$1 million question here, but if you could change one thing about how Maine supports rural music education, what would it be?
Funding, 100%.
Give me money.
The
Yeah,
million
funding
dollar
and plus
question.
opportunities. and
Give me
opportunities
$1
for
million.
collaboration. I mean, yeah, that'd be great too. A performing arts center, maybe that'd be nice.
Oh my, imagine a performing arts center.
Honestly,
Oh
and
my
also
God.
just like opportunities to collaborate with others, or more opportunities to collaborate with others, I guess.
Mm.
Because like District 5 is a great opportunity for kids, but one, only a few kids get in, even if your program is rather big, and two, that's only one weekend a year.
Mm.
Mm. Is Messalonsky still a thing that happens? Messalonsky would do a choral festival every like October.
I don't think so.
I know
Oh.
of.
I don't know. This was also like almost 10 years ago now that I'm thinking about it. So it could have died during the pandemic. So how do you
Well,
envision the future of music education in rural Maine over the next decade? Like what do you want to see change, and like what do you think is actually going to change? Or is it going to change at all?
I would love to see more. I feel like there is a much older population of choral or music teachers in general in rural Maine. And I know the school district that I teach at, um, the the year that I got my job, I was the only one that applied for it, and the year before, nobody applied. And so it was one music teacher for the entire district. So I would love to see younger music teachers not all move down to Portland. I would love to see some more people up here. I would love to build a community here that's a bit more active. Because I remember I grew up in District 2, and that was a huge, very active district. And I would love to see District 5, or again, just like rural Maine, grow and develop to be similar to that as well.
yeah, I totally agree. I think my biggest fear is, given the aging population of music teachers, the dying off of programs that are already established or programs that are not doing well already. But my biggest hope is to see more programs start thriving and more support for rural music programs. And I think, like Vicky said earlier, the Thrive program through the University of Maine is great, but also getting that information to more rural schools. Like, the only reason I knew about it was because another teacher colleague of mine that I speak with on a daily basis let me know about it. And if I hadn't been made aware of it from her, like, I wouldn't have even potentially had that opportunity. And then I just think that, support of, and it's a lot of it comes from administration, like having a supportive administration that supports what you're doing and supports and advocates for what you're doing in the community, and a supportive community. Like, I am so lucky, when I have a concert or when I have like a musical performance, there's a line out the door of people wanting to come in because they want to see what the kids are doing and they want to support the kids. And like, that's amazing, but it goes beyond just those singular events. Like, it needs to be longevity of support, not just showing up when it counts, when you can post on Facebook that you were there for something, but like like being in it for the long haul, and not just, oh well, I was there for this.
Mm.
Like, it's more than just those single moments. It's a lot. There's a lot more work that goes into it, and a lot more necessary support that goes into it as well.
Yeah. Do you guys have like a music boosters program at your guys' schools or?
I have a really successful music booster program. I'm really lucky. It's made up mostly of parents, teachers, and
Sure.
community members.
My school, we don't have a music boosters, but we have a just boosters, combined athletics and anything else. So like this year, because of budget cuts, no longer had the money to buy um, like paint and props and stuff for our musical. And so I went to boosters, and I was like, hey, can I have this money to do this? And they just gave me a bunch of money.
That's awesome.
So we don't have a music boosters, but I definitely, my colleague he he is not as involved with boosters. He thinks the school should pay for everything, which it should, but that's
But it
ideal
can't.
world, but it can't. So I'm definitely going to try to put in my goal this year is to get a lot more involved with boosters and like try to get music more ingratiated in there.
Do you guys have like any overlap in community ensembles? Like, are there, what, number one, are there community ensembles in places like Lincoln and Milo? Have you considered starting one to try and get, a generation of older people thinking about music and maybe investing into the youth that way? Or is it like, is that a little too much?
I think in my situation, the extent of like community music making would be at churches in the area. Um, I think it would be an amazing idea to make a community choir. I, however, teach K through 12 music, and I don't have the time to start
Yeah.
that up. That would be great, though. Maybe a few years down the line. I would love to do like a teacher's choir where like maybe the teachers all get together and perform for the kids, but
That's cool. Yeah, for me, unfortunately, same idea. Lincoln is kind of known as the start of the Northern Bible Belt of Maine, where there's like a lot of churches and a lot of um, groups, like religious groups. But unfortunately, being the band director, jazz band director, and choral director for 7th through 12th grade and directing 2 musicals in 1 year this year, I just don't have the bandwidth to do a lot of, evening activities within the town. But I am very lucky because the pianist and music director at the largest church in the town of Lincoln is my accompanist. So we've started kind of a sharing program with them where like we can borrow music from their sacred library, which is really cool. And we're trying to put together some kind of collaborative event or collaborative concert with specifically his choir just to like test drive it, maybe to see if there's the potential for something like that. But even just having him on board has really helped like support the music program in general because he's from the area and I'm not. So having like a local that's standing with you saying like, "Hey, this woman's doing really cool stuff. Like, please support her and like come out and support the kids," has been like amazing for my program. And then having Nancy at my disposal, my counterpart who does middle school chorus, who's been in the district for 32 years. I have someone with a lot of experience in the community who's really a member of the community to bounce ideas off of and get feedback from and stuff as well.
So yeah, last question before we go on to my favorite part of the podcast. What advice would you give to young teachers who are just beginning their careers in more rural school systems?
I think looking at, like for people that are going into the profession of music education, not being afraid of a rural music program, because I was terrified when I applied for my job and I got my job like the week before school started. So that was a really big adjustment for me because I thought that I didn't want to go into music education right away after grad school because I didn't think there were that many jobs available other than really rural districts. And honestly, it was the best decision I've ever made. And, thankfully, Trevor Marco, who, like I said, was a pillar in the Lincoln music community for over a decade, is a really good mentor and friend of mine since I was in high school. So I reached out to him and said, "Hey, I'm thinking about applying for your old job. What advice do you have?" And, things like that. And he reached out to the administration that he worked under and to Nancy and was like, "Hey, a former student of mine is applying for this job. Like, give her a chance because she has really good potential to build the program to what I know that it could be again." And so having that support from colleagues and mentors is huge, and just knowing that you have resources out there and knowing that even though you feel like you're on the island of misfit toys and like that you don't necessarily fit in because you're the only music teacher in your building or one of the only music teachers in your district, just knowing that there are resources and there are people out there that want to support you and want what's best for you. And there are musical people in the community that you may not even be aware of, but finding out who those people are and making those connections and having those, is either going to make or break your program. And just realizing that you have resources even if you feel like you're alone, and reaching out for help is the biggest thing I could ever tell someone, because the amount of times that I've had to ask for help and resources and, support, support is like the biggest thing that I could ever a biggest piece of advice I could ever give a new teacher.
I think definitely reach out to other music educators, reach out to other educators in your district. Join your educators association. 100%. Create those relationships with other teachers in your district. Don't completely be an island, I think is a big one. But then also, a big one for me that I'm still working on is just leave. Like at the end of the day, you have a to-do list. Like I have like 20 sticky notes all on my desk of things that I have to do. At the end of the day, it's time to go just leave. Um, because you're gonna burn out. And I think with a rural community where it's like you're doing so much work to uphold your program, like you are your program, it can be so easy to like accidentally. I've had nights where I've stayed in my classroom until like 7 p.m. doing work because I lost track of time. But like, just go home. Work life balance is a huge thing.
Oh boy, now we're on to my favorite part of the show. Um, so just to round out the show, we're gonna do a fun little game of true or false. It's very fast paced. Because both of you have degrees in music education, they're more advanced than the normal questions that I would ask. You would find these probably on like a freshman year music history and music theory.
Oh boy,
Um,
that was a long time
Oh
ago.
no.
yeah. So yeah, so you have to get we're gonna do what we did last episode, which we're gonna alternate. So I'm gonna ask, you can decide who wants to go first now. But
Not it.
we're gonna I'll flip a coin. I don't have a coin. Uh-oh.
I'll go first. It's okay.
Okay.
Age before beauty.
So yeah, you have to get a collective of 15 correct. And
Oh
if you
god.
do, I will Venmo you each $15. Big money, I know.
We've got this.
That's enough for two pieces of sheet music on JW Pepper.
That's enough for like 3 coffees
Yeah.
or 2 if it's Starbucks.
That's at least two $6 meal deals from Dunkin'. So that's breakfast for 2 days.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Good point.
Are you ready?
Yes.
Okay.
Sure.
Here we go. In tonal harmony, the leading tone always resolves upward to the tonic.
True.
That is true. Diminished fourth is enharmonically equivalent to an augmented fifth.
True.
That is false.
Wait, fuck. No, false.
A Neapolitan chord is built on the lowered second scale degree and is typically not in root, or sorry, is typically in root position.
True.
False.
Oh,
A dominant seventh chord contains two tritones.
False.
That's false. Parallel perfect fifths and octaves are permitted between inner voices and counterpart.
hmm.
Did I say counterpart? Counterpoint.
Oh.
Yeah. False. False.
False. Sonata form typically includes an exposition, development, and recapitulation.
True.
True. In a fugue, the answer usually enters at the dominant pitch.
False.
Is true. A minuet and trio is in simple ternary form.
True.
True. Through composed music repeats entire sections without change.
True.
False. Classical composers avoided chromaticism to maintain clarity.
True.
False.
Damn it.
The Ars Nova movement introduced innovations in rhythm and notation.
What movement?
Ars Nova.
True.
True. Monteverdi's L'Orfeo is often considered the first opera.
Oh. Mm. True.
True. Romantic composers favored absolute music over programmatic music.
False.
False. Stravinsky's The Rite of Spring caused scandal at its 1913 premiere.
True.
True.
I was going to say that was Vicky's one to answer, but yes, true.
I was going to say true
whoops.
anyway. It's fine.
12-tone serialism removes the distinction between consonants and dissonance.
False.
It's true.
Ah.
Also why I hate it. The clarinet overblows at the octave, while the oboe overblows at the 12th.
False.
False. Equal temperament divides the octave into 12 equal semitones.
True. Yeah.
True. The harmonic series contains only the pitches of a major triad.
False.
False. Ethnomusicology focuses exclusively on Western classical traditions.
False.
False. Historically informed performance replicates the original instrumentation and style.
True.
True. What do you think you got?
15.
I got some bad news.
Boo.
14. You were so close.
Oh,
So close.
that's so funny.
If you didn't say true at first on the diminished fourth is enharmonically equivalent to an augmented fifth, you would have gotten it.
I know. I'm so mad about that one because I got it mixed up in my head because I was like, yeah, no, diminish. Freaking.
That's why I wrote it that way. It was supposed to be very difficult.
Trick question.
Well,
I
good
locked
news
in
is
after that one though.
you guys have performed the best out of everyone who's done this. You guys had 14, Bruce Wilson had 13, and Forrest and Gwen had 12.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
performing better than everyone else. But oh my gosh. Thank you guys so much for joining me. I know it's been a little bit hectic trying to get this thing scheduled. But yeah, that's all I have for today.
Thanks so much for having us.